Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Wellness Wednesday live Q&A. My name is Adelaide, and I am a certified nutrition and wellness consultant here with Rose Natural Wellness. We specialize in education and personalized guidance for women's nutrition and wellness. And today I'm really excited to dive into a more serious topic than we typically talk about on this channel, and that is mold exposure. So, mold exposure is a very serious issue that can very deeply affect your health in a lot of negative ways. So, it's really important to help people understand what kinds of things to look out for with mold exposure, how it affects your health, and what we can do to improve that. So, I'm really excited to discuss this topic today, especially being from Southwest Florida. We live here near Fort Myers, and it is very, very humid throughout the vast majority of the year, which is a perfect environment for mold exposure. On top of that, we also have the threat of hurricanes and heavy, heavy rains causing flooding, which can then cause a lot of water damage, which will then induce mold. So, if you are living in Southwest Florida, or if you're in other areas where you may be experiencing mold exposure, it's really important to pay attention to these signs, symptoms, and tips to help support your health. And also recognize that mold exposure can happen everywhere, even if you're in a more dry sort of climate. I am originally from Denver, Colorado. Even in Colorado, we had some serious issues with mold because mold can affect anything that is touched by water. So let's go ahead and dive in and talk about why mold exposure is so detrimental to our health and what we can really do about it. So, mold is a lot more common than most people think. It can be found really anywhere. So, it can be in your home, it can be in your workplace, your school, really anywhere that there is organic material that this mold can feed off of. Mold could be a potential problem. So, we are going to give kind of a basic overview of this concept and really talk about some natural nutritional tips that you can utilize to help your body naturally detoxify or support its natural detoxification pathways. Now, I want to be really clear, this is not in any way medical advice. At Rose Natural Wellness, we do not diagnose, treat, or cure any illnesses or disease. That is not our realm of expertise. If you have a specific concern about an illness or a disease that you may be experiencing, please always consult a qualified medical professional and get their opinion before you do anything else. But with that in mind, we do specialize in nutrition. So we are all about learning how to identify these different signs so that you can utilize the power of real food nutrition to help support your body in its natural detoxification efforts. So, the biggest thing with mold is that mold is a live organism and it affects us very negatively. It is called mycotoxins. It has mycotoxic spores. And what that means is myco comes from the word mushroom, so referring to fungus and the mushroom kingdom. Mold is a fungus. And then toxins, of course, means something that is detrimental to our health, some sort of poison. So this mold can actually sort of poison us through its mold spores. And how it does that affects a number of different body systems. So first and foremost, you may see the respiratory system be the most affected. And that's because spores tend to irritate the lungs. They get swept up into the air from dust or from movement of particles, and they spread throughout the air. So that can start to irritate the lungs. So many people may notice that they are experiencing the development or the worsening of things like asthma, allergies, and they may be experiencing coughing as well. So mycotoxins can really worsen the sensitivity of the bronchioles in your lungs. So these are teeny tiny parts of the lungs that are very, very sensitive to different irritants, and mold really targets those. Now, with the immune system, what can often happen is the creation of sort of an overactive response. So the mycotoxins engage with your immune system. The immune system attempts to fight back by creating chronic inflammation throughout the body. And this often presents in fatigue in many people. Over time, this weakens the immune system's defenses from being in a constant state of high alert. So, like a battery running on maximum power, over time, that battery is going to deplete and the immune system becomes less defensive to the mycotoxin particles. So you will find that you may experience more illnesses and infections a lot more easily than you otherwise would have in the past. The mycotoxic spores of the mold can also affect the nervous system. So, this can cause things like brain fog, headaches, and migraines, as well as memory issues. This is very severe when the mycotoxins interact with your neurology. So important to make sure that if you have a suspicion exposure, that you're getting the home properly inspected, and that you're also seeing a qualified medical professional to get a analysis and make sure that you are doing okay, because this can very seriously affect your health and it can have widespread long-term effects. So if you have a suspicion that you have experienced mold exposure and you are being affected by that, please see your doctor and let them know that you suspect mold exposure, because that will help with being able to obtain a proper diagnosis. If you see a medical professional for these types of issues, but you don't mention the key piece of information about the mold exposure, it may take a lot longer to be able to address your symptoms in a proper way and get you a proper diagnosis to start your healing path. So just be aware of that. The mycotoxins can also affect the digestive system. Something that a lot of people don't realize is that approximately 80% of our immune system is actually housed within the gut. So if your gut is having issues, your immune system will as well, and vice versa. So the gut microbiota tend to get disrupted by these mycotoxins, and this can lead to poor absorption of your key nutrients. So, if it's not already bad enough that your immune system is weakened by these toxins, by being prolonged in the exposure to them, you are now weakening your defenses even more, and you're not able to absorb the nutrients that your body needs to properly detoxify and heal. So, this is a big problem, and we really need to address the gut health in order to be able to boost the immune system and get back into a healing place. So, this can cause what is called leaky gut. Leaky gut is where you have the intestinal lining. Typically, it's very tight and closed off so that only those small particles, like your minerals and your essential vitamins, can pass through and be absorbed into the intestines. As the GI becomes affected and the gut microbiota is disturbed and replaced by negative gut microbes, this lining of the intestines begins to slowly separate, and you start to get these large holes that form in the intestinal lining, which creates what's called permeability, which means that larger particles can now pass through. So these are things that we would normally want to filter out that are now getting back into the intestines and reabsorbed into the body. This is a really, really bad thing, because if we have toxins that would normally be detoxified and excreted that are being reabsorbed through this intestinal lining, we're getting to a point where we're going to be set up for a disaster for our health. Now, the liver and the detox pathways, unfortunately, are also affected within this process. The liver, over time, works to process toxins, and when it is chronically exposed to this mold, it's working and burning out, trying to detoxify the body. So, this overload ends up causing what's called oxidative stress. This is essentially the rusting of your body from the inside out. This is really bad, and over time can lead to the development of things like cancer cells. This also causes a lot of fatigue, as you can imagine, because your body is burning itself out trying to fight off something as it's continuing to get weaker and weaker. So, what can we do to address these issues? Well, luckily, we have a lot that we can lean into with the realm of nutrition so that we can help support our health and get back into a healing path. So, one of the most important things is going to be, first and foremost, anti inflammatory foods. Some examples of this would be things like berries, leafy greens, turmeric, that orange spice is going to be amazing for this, as well as ginger. These are going to directly help to reduce oxidative stress that's caused by mold, as well as this chronic state of inflammation that the body is experiencing. You can also lean into something like omega-3 fatty acids from fish oils or wild caught fish. Those are going to be very powerful anti inflammatories that are going to help with reducing the inflammation in the body and promoting healing. So, some nutrients that we can utilize to support our liver directly will come from cruciferous veggies. So, these are things like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, those sprouted sort of typically green veggies, but also cauliflower. Garlic and onions are going to help with the glutathione production inside of our body, which is very essential for helping to support the liver detoxification processes. And for our gut health, we really want to prioritize high fiber foods. So things like chia seeds, flax seeds, or oats are going to be ideal. Fermented foods are also going to be a very powerful addition because they're going to give us those probiotics that are needed to feed our good gut microbiota and reestablish balance within the gut. So, some good examples of fermented foods are things like a Greek yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, or kefir. We also want to really prioritize protein and healthy amino acids. So, protein is fuel for our detoxification enzymes, it helps to build them. And of course, we need those amino acids to build our proteins. So, we also want to get the amino acids glutamine, which help to rebuild the gut lining, and glycine, which help to support the liver. So, those are going to come from complete protein sources such as steak, chicken, turkey, and even our plant sources like edamame and quinoa. We also want to stay really hydrated. One of the best things that you can do to support detoxification with any illness is going to be staying hydrated. We also want to balance that with essential electrolytes to maintain that fluid balance and support that detoxification. So every day you want to aim for at least half your body weight in ounces of water and more if you're exercising, sweating a lot at altitude, experiencing illness, or consuming caffeine or alcohol. We also want to really prioritize potassium and magnesium from things like seeds or leafy greens to help us with that proper fluid balance. And finally, you can also lean into foods that contain binders if you need some additional support. So these would be things like chlorella, spirulina, even activated charcoal contains very, very powerful binders that will bind to everything that it touches. So I will emphasize that that will bind to everything, including any supplements, medications, or other nutrients. So just be aware of that. And I would especially emphasize if you are going to use activated charcoal, please use that just with professional guidance only. All right, so kind of to recap everything that we have discussed today in terms of mold exposure and our approach to healthful healing through nutrition, is I really want people to understand that mold can impact a wide variety of bodily systems, but healthy whole food nutrition does help to support our recovery. So I really, really encourage you to keep an eye out for healthy whole foods in your grocery store and stock up on those so that you have them on hand at all times and really prioritize your healthy hydration as well. And if you're in your home and you start to smell musty smells, you start to experience headaches, brain fog, coughing, throat irritation, or any of the other symptoms that we discussed, or if you have a suspicion that there has been some sort of water leak within your home, please seek professional guidance to assist with that. This is also going to apply to your school or your office. If you experience any sort of water damage within the place that you are living or working, please consult with a qualified professional to help you address that so that you can get back to your healing journey. And please note also that mold can occur within 24 hours of being exposed to water. And all it takes is just air, water, and some sort of organic material like drywall or even dust mites to start to form mold spores. So please consult with a qualified professional before your health is at risk and remediate it properly so that you can get back to a healthy and holistic way of being. Excellent. Well, before we wrap up, I would like to invite anybody that is out there watching. If you have ever experienced symptoms of mold exposure, what were they? And what did you do to help support your health? What did you find that was the most impactful thing that you could utilize to support your health from mold exposure? So let us know in the chat box or in the comments below. And also, if you have any ideas for an upcoming topic that you would like us to discuss on our weekly live Wellness Wednesday Q&A, please let us know. We're always happy to address your questions and your ideas, and we're certainly looking forward to the next Wellness Wednesday. Have a healthy and happy day, and we'll see you next time.